Student Recruitment Officer here at Fleming College, and I will be your moderator for today's session. Before we begin, I would like to respectfully acknowledge that Fleming College sits on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe and Mississauga peoples. We offer our gratitude to our First Nations for their care of our earth and our relations. And I will briefly now turn it over to Greg Jefford for an introduction of the session as well as our panel members. Over to you, Greg.
Thank you very much, Laura. Great to be here. On behalf of the entire Student Experience Division at Fleming College, I'd like to welcome you to the Student Experience Information Session. At Fleming College, we are here to support you from day one right through to graduation and beyond. We have services and supports to meet your needs, the needs of such a diverse student population, and ensure you have an outstanding experience outside the classroom that contributes to your success inside the classroom. I'm pleased to be joined by a number of panelists here today who care for your success and well-being, and I have the pleasure to introduce you to them. Rob Marsh, General Manager, Housing Services. Julie Middleton, Director, Counseling and Accessible Education Services. Kathleen Conway, Tutoring and Academic Skills Coordinator. Carmen Gillette, Library Technician. And Donna Hayes, Financial Aid Officer and Advisor. Thank you, panelists. And at this point, I'm going to turn it back to our moderator, Laura Gunning, who will begin with our questions for the panelists. Laura.
Great, thank you, Greg. So I just wanted to explain the format of the session for the students that are listening and watching us at the moment. So we have collected 10 questions based on the emails that we received from you. So we will go through those 10 questions in a few minutes. And after that, I would like to open the floor for additional questions that you may have. So over on the right-hand side of your screen, you should see a spot where you can type in your question. So I will ask that you take a few minutes to listen to the questions that we're going to go through before we switch to the Q&A session, because some of the questions may be answered for you already. And I will also ask that you type in your question only once. We will do our best to get to it. But if you type in your question more than once, it's just a little bit difficult to make sure that we keep tabs on every question that comes in, and we want to make sure that we answer as many as we can. So let's get started with the 10 questions that came in prior to today's session. So the first one is for you, Rob. What is the plan for residents for the fall semester? So what options are available for students? Can you speak a little bit about what we have decided to do?
Sure, thanks very much. So hello everyone, glad to see that we have the opportunity to talk with so many students about coming to campus and answering questions about housing. Our priority is to provide safe housing to students. To inform our decisions, the college has been in constant contact with government, public health, and other housing departments to ensure an approach to support student success, as Greg spoke about. Based on public health directives, we know that, like many other colleges, the fall semester at Fleming will begin online, and to ensure the highest possible safety standards and anticipated return to campus, our residences will be available the second half of the fall term, with move-in planned for the week of October 22nd. The residences will operate at a reduced capacity. As we have a suite style design, we are able to accommodate one student per bathroom. This means that we will have approximately 150 beds at our Sutherland residence in Peterborough and 60 beds at our Frost residence in Lindsay. Students that have applied to live in residence were notified by email earlier today that they will have 4 options. First, they can confirm that they want to continue their residence application and intend to live in residence beginning at the end of October. Second, to defer the residence application to January 2021, noting that a room offer is not guaranteed. Third, to defer their room offer until September 2021, or fourth, to cancel their residence application. Students that choose to defer to next fall or cancel the residence application will receive a full refund of their residence fees. Detailed information is also available on our residence portal.
Thank you. The next question is also for you. You're very popular in this session. So how will the college determine which students will receive a room, Rob?
Sure. So of the students that have indicated and let us know that they want to live in residence at the beginning of October, or end of October, sorry, priority will be given to students that A, are enrolled in a program deemed an essential worker program, like nursing or trades. Second, that priority will be given to students that live outside the Kawartha and Peterborough region. Third, that they are a semester 1 student. And finally, spaces will be offered based on the original residence application date and time. So a first come, first serve model.
Great. Next question is also for you. When will a student find out if they have a room in residence? And how will they find that out?
So we've asked students to let us know by no later than July 12th what their intent is and what choice they're making. From there, we will provide an update the week of July 13th through 17th to all previous applicants. Residence fees for the fall semester will be reduced 50%, and the fall term fees are due on August 7th. For those students receiving external funding, for example from OSAP, they are able to defer their residence fees until their funding is received.
Great. And one more question for you, please. What supports does Fleming have available for students that may have to search for off-campus housing?
Great question. So Housing Services provide support for all students living either on campus or off campus. We are working with landlords and our community partners to provide additional information to secure and maintain housing during COVID. Extra information and additional support will be provided to students that we were not able to offer a residence space. I understand that this may be difficult and the news is less than ideal, but I hope not a surprise. We hope the options provide all of our students with a degree of flexibility and choice. Please know that everyone at Fleming is committed to your success, whether living on campus, in one of our campus communities, or at home.
Thank you, Rob. I'm switching gears a little bit here, and I'm going to ask you a question now, Greg, please. Could you speak to us
Sure.
about sports and recreation opportunities for students in the fall?
Yeah, for sure. Earlier this month, the OCAA, which is the Ontario Colleges Athletic Association, and its members, of which Fleming College is one, as well as CELA, which is the Canadian Intercollegiate Lumberjack Association that supports our logger sports, made the difficult decision to suspend the sports schedule and our varsity schedule for the fall season. I recognize this is very disappointing for our student athletes, our coaches, our athletic staff, community, and fans that support our Fleming Knights. But we do know that the OCAA made this decision in order to further reduce the potential of the exposure to COVID-19 and protect the health and safety of everyone involved in sports alongside our return to campus plans. The OCAA and the Fleming College, including myself, are monitoring the situation on an ongoing basis, and we will make a decision during the fall semester on the status of sports, including the winter 2021 schedule. In terms of the athletic facilities, we are not charging an athletic facility fee for the fall, but we are continuing to work with our partners, both at the City of Peterborough, as well for the Peterborough Sport and Wellness Center, as well as the Lindsay Recreation Complex. And we are excited to be able to offer to students a temporary month-to-month basis, a student rate that will provide students who wish to choose so access to those facilities when they reopen. So, thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Greg. The next question has to do with accessible education services. So I'm wondering if you could help me with the question, please, Julie. How can a student access support services, especially if they have an IEP that was documented in high school, whether they're coming directly from high school or they've taken some time off between high school and college? Could you speak about that, please?
Sure, thanks. So for students accessing accessible education services, and That is, if you're a student with a documented disability, which could be medical or a learning disability, psychological, physical disability, you could be eligible for accommodations to help you succeed academically. So what we would ask students looking to register with AES is to contact us as soon as possible, so we can help to make sure that we have everything set in place. So day one of the fall semester, you'll be ready to go. So first step for doing that is sending us any documentation, disability documentation you may have. So that could be a copy of the IEP, or that could be a psychoeducational assessment, or an audiogram. Our website lists all the documentation you may require. And if a student has any challenges collecting that documentation, or you're not sure if you have the right information, please feel free to give us a call and we'll take you through the process. Once you've sent us that documentation, the next step is to meet with a counselor. And that counselor in that first meeting is going to help us to learn more about your educational history. So if you are someone who hasn't been in school for some time, hear about what previous accommodations you maybe had set in place for you already, and talk with you about how the learning environment can maybe adapt to fit the needs that you have. We'll also talk with you in that appointment about all the other support services that are available to you and how to access them. So that might be note-taking or accommodated testing or alternative text, but the counselor will work with the student to talk about what their needs are and to set those plans. So again, the first step is to, and again, all the information is on our website, to look through and to get your documentation together, and then to meet with the counselor. And to meet with the counselor, you can contact Jennifer Beauchamp at our office, who will be happy to set an appointment for you. And then additionally, a really important thing for students who are coming in who are new to AES to know about is our summer transition program, First at Fleming, which is an opportunity. This year it's going to be a virtual experience taking place on September the 1st. And that goal of that program is to help students to learn more about the transition from high school to college, to meet the AES team, have an opportunity to speak to staff, faculty, and to students who've accessed AES services in the past and learn more about what that looks like for them, and ask all their questions. And the day will be broken into 3 sessions. There'll be a welcome session where they get to meet the team. And then there will be a session faculty-student panel. And then the last session is a parent session, because we know that parents often have many questions. And so we have a session set specifically for them. And again, there's more information on our website about how people can register for that program.
Thank you, Julie. And I know that we're going to be referring to a lot of website links and people's names and their email addresses and potential phone numbers. This session is going to be being recorded and will be posted on online, as well as an FAQ fact sheet that you can then access or open, that has everyone's contact information. So please don't feel like this information is being mentioned and then you can't refer back to it. The next question is for you also, Julie. What counseling and mental health supports are available for students?
Sure. So counseling here at Fleming is divided into 2 streams. We have the accessible education counseling that I just spoke about, which is to assess students who are requiring accommodations. And then the second stream that we have is what we call here our personal wellness counseling. And the personal wellness counselors offer supportive, confidential counseling to students with a variety of personal and mental health concerns, things like anxiety and depression, or homesickness, coping with the transition to college. So we have individual counseling appointments available right now and into the fall through telephone or WebEx. We also have same-day counseling appointments available by telephone. And again, that link will be provided and the telephone number will be provided. We have weekly drop-in sessions available with the counselors on a variety of topics, which the website updates weekly. And also throughout the semester, we offer a variety of different programming and sessions. So for example, this semester, we've been offering Meditation Mondays, which is a drop-in session for students to come and learn more about meditation. So if students are needing that service, they can again either stop by our drop-in or call our telephone line, or to seek to make an individual appointment, they can contact Jennifer Beauchamp and she'd be happy to arrange that for them.
Thank you, Julie. One more question for you, please. Can students access health services even though we're looking at an online semester in the fall?
Yeah, so health services is still currently being staffed. Our nurses are available by telephone. So if a student was to need a medical appointment, their step would be to call health services, and they would have an opportunity to speak with one of our nurses who would triage and see what they were looking for. And should they require an appointment with one of our college physicians, the nurses would arrange that, and that's taking place over telemedicine over the telephone right now.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Julie. Switching to Carmen from Library Services. So Carmen, there's a great question here about resources available to help students learn in an online environment. Could you speak a little bit about what support services we have for students to learn online?
Yes, there are many resources and services to support you. The first one I'm going to mention is our new web module for online learning success. This was developed by the library, tutoring and academic skills, learning strategies, and accessible education services. This module steps you through what you need to know, from how to set up your study space, time management, using D2L and other technology tools, how to connect with a tutor, how to access the library, how to deliver a great online presentation. It's really a whole package. And that link will be provided along with all the links from this town hall. You can also access it from your My Campus portal or from the library homepage. Also, on the library homepage, you'll see that the library has full online support for students. We provide help with research, citations, using all of the library's resources, and a variety of other questions that come our way. We have had an online chat help service for a couple of years now, and we have expanded on that recently. It does include evenings and weekends. You can get support. Another option on weekdays, you can also drop into our virtual reference desk and get face-to-face help. So just by clicking the link, you can connect with us at Sutherland Library or Frost Library, depending on your program. We are also running workshops this summer and workshops in the fall, and you're certainly welcome to join any of those. So that is all on our homepage. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Carmen. And the last question is for Kathleen. Kathleen, a lot of students are a little bit anxious about online learning, and so they're wondering if we are going to provide tutoring services, especially if students are not on campus for the fall semester. Could you speak about that, please?
Sure, thanks, Laura. So yes, we are offering tutoring services. So at the Academic or Tutoring and Academic Skills Center, I do want to point out first that all of the services that I'm about to review are free. There is no charge at all to students who are accessing any of the supports that we offer. So we do offer booked appointments for course-specific tutoring where students can get help with course content. We also offer drop-in sessions where students can get some foundational support, so perhaps in areas such as math or some writing skills. And in addition to that, we offer learning strategy support. So that kind of support would be for students who want to work on improving maybe their study skills. They may need some help with time management. Maybe they're looking to get better at planning and organization, looking for some support with memory strategies to help them with the retention and retrieval of information, or perhaps they're really overwhelmed by an assignment and maybe they just need some help getting started or looking at how to break an assignment down so that they can get moving forward with it. So students can book an appointment with learning strategies, or they can pop into a drop-in session for that service as well. So for both tutoring and learning strategies support, appointments are booked online using our online booking system called WC Online. And then the appointment itself takes place over WebEx. And I do want to point out as well, or one of the sort of key points I want to mention today is that really in Tutoring and Academic Skills Center, we are business as usual. We are still offering the full range of services that we were offering on campus. Students are still able to access all of those services, and really the main difference is that those services are just taking place with their tutor or their learning strategy advisor in an online format, usually WebEx. So I do want to invite students to visit our website, the Tutoring and Academic Skills website. There's lots of information there about tutoring. We also have our drop-in schedule is available there. We have links to WC Online and links to all the WebEx rooms that students can use to access both drop-in sessions for tutoring, learning strategies, and staff as well. All of my contact information is there, and students can pop into my room as well for any support that they might.
Great. Thank you, Kathleen. So this brings the questions that we gathered from emails that we received after an invitation to the session was sent. So now I would like to open the floor to questions from students who are logged in. So I'm going to start picking a few from the chat here. I do see a lot of questions from international students, and we thank you for joining us today. It's great to see you here today. I would like to encourage you, there are questions about study permits and should IRCC, so Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada, if you need to contact them regarding deferring from May to September. So if you have specific questions about your study permit, about arriving in Canada, and about your IELTS scores, please email our International Student Services Department at international@flemingcollege.ca, and this email address will be available on that FAQ fact sheet that we're going to post on the site as well. So our International Student Department are the ones that are absolutely that can answer those questions and guide you through the process of what happens to your study permit and how do you arrive to Canada. So I do also want to point out that a lot of programs are going to be strictly online for the fall semester, so there will be no on-campus component. There are some programs, however, that will have the first 7 weeks of the semester will be online, followed by the last 7 weeks on campus doing boot camp. So if this is the case for your program, or if you're wondering which programs are online and which ones aren't, the best contact for you is your program coordinator. So just off the top here, the School of Business, for example, all their programs are going to be online for the fall. The School of General Arts and Sciences are all online, as well as the programs in the School of Justice and Community Development are all online, including biotechnology forensics. So it's mostly our healthcare programs and some of our trades programs that will have that combination hybrid of online followed by on-campus delivery. But if you're still unclear, the best person to contact is your program coordinator, and their name and email address is available on the individual webpage for your program. So if you go to flemingcollege.ca, then look up full-time programs, you will see a list of A to Z programs, and then you can click on your individual program and get your coordinator's name. So I'm going to start going through some questions here. So I just want to confirm, please, Rob, somebody's asking about moving on campus on August the 1st. Could you confirm the first date that a student can be living on campus in the fall?
So on-campus residence is going to begin the week of October 22nd. If students want to move into the community earlier than that and live off campus, that would be something that they would arrange with their landlord or the people that they're staying with.
Thank you. There's a question here about, do you need to have this is an international question. Are you supposed to study, can you study without a visa? My understanding from the international department is if your program is online, there is no requirement for you to have a study permit. However, when the program does move to on-campus in-class delivery, you will need to have a study permit. And there's always the risk that you start without a study permit and then you may not be able to secure a study permit. So again, please contact international@flemingcollege.ca for assistance with those questions. Let me see here. There's a question here. I'm wondering if you can assist with it, Greg, regarding medical insurance. So for domestic students, it's through their student government, correct? For international students, it is all handled through International Student Services?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Now there's a question here, Julie. Are students eligible for counseling services now or only in the fall?
So our counseling services are for students who are registered students with Fleming College. So if it was a student who will be starting in the fall, then they'll be eligible in the fall. If it was somebody who has, been receiving, has been in classes over the spring semester, then they are open now.
Okay.
I would say though, if there's people who are looking for general support and they're not sure where to turn, we would always welcome them contacting us, and we're happy to help them connect with their own community resources if they're not eligible for our services right now.
Thank you. A question for you, please, Rob. How does a student let residents know which choice they have chosen of the four options that you spoke about? Do they do it through the housing portal, or do they send an email to residents?
So earlier this morning, all students with a room offer would have received information directly from residents that provided a link to the residents portal where they complete a form and let us know what choice they select. Again, they have until July 12th to submit that information, but the earlier is appreciated.
Thank you. There is a question here about our mental health and addictions worker program, and they're asking if that is considered an essential program. That program, in addition, so that mental health and addiction worker program falls under the School of Justice and Community Development, and all the programs in that school, including social service worker, early childhood education, educational support, police foundations, all our law programs, they are all going to be online for the fall semester. So there will be no requirement for you to transition to on campus halfway through the semester. There's a question here. I'm wondering, perhaps Donna, if you can help us with this. There's a student that is wondering about how to access their RESP funding. Where do they go to get a proof of enrollment?
That would be through our records office, actually. They sign off because it's through the registrar's office that's signed. So you can contact through records, the Fleming email, records@flemingcollege.ca.
Thank you. And this is a question I'm hoping perhaps Rob or even Greg, you can answer. I'm not sure that we are thinking this far ahead yet. Since everything is online until January, hopefully, will there be information shared on housing and off-campus housing for the winter 2021 semester?
I can start, Greg, and then feel free to add as appropriate. So for winter, we do have the option, one of the options is available for students to be able to defer. We also have housing support any time of the year for any start date that students are looking for support. So our Office of Off-Campus Housing is available now if you have questions about moving in winter or for the January start. And we will have residence applications open mid-September, if not earlier, for those who are interested in moving into residence, assuming we have availability and based on current conditions related to COVID around that time.
There's another question about housing here. So since we have you ready, if a student chooses to go into residence for the back half of the fall semester, will they still be able to leave residence and visit their home while in residence?
Yes, they will.
Thank you. Now a question for you, please, Greg. Could we repeat again, please, what's happening with sports? Because there's a question here, will there be sports practices, but on a limited amount or sort of limited contact? Or no sports at all, no practices, nothing?
Yeah, again, the fall sports competition has been suspended. And as referenced earlier, we are working with our city partners in terms of the facilities and when they can be opened and ultimately students being able to access the facilities. We're still working through those details and when the facilities will be open, what services will be available, including our gymnasiums and sports fields. And so some of those details in terms of even limited access to the gymnasium and sports fields are still to be determined. And in terms of the winter schedule, Once we know whether we are able to operate the winter 2021 schedule, then we'll just have to work with our teams to determine what would be appropriate in terms of the practice and training schedule with our staff and personnel to support the student athletes.
Thank you. Another question about residence for you, please, Rob. Will there be restrictions regarding overnight guests for the back half of the semester, of the fall semester?
Thank you. We anticipate now that yes, there will be restrictions to visitors and guests. Again, we'll reassess as we get closer to our move-in date, what the current conditions are based on public health directives and information coming from the provincial government, but that's the direction we're leaning at the moment.
And how about the winter? I guess that would be dependent on.
Exactly. We will assess conditions and then modify as they do change and it's appropriate to respond.
Thank you. Could you speak a little bit about meal plans? Will they be available for students staying in residence in the last 7 weeks of the semester in the fall?
So we anticipate right now, food service, I will mention, does not fall within my responsibility area, but I'm working closely with the staff in that area to determine what's available, working with Aramark, who is our food service provider. Our intent now is to have food service available, and we're taking a look at what that's going to look like. Again, we'll be reassessed as we get closer to that date.
Thank you. There are lots of questions here about individual programs, and students are asking, is my program online? Is my program a hybrid program? So what I really would encourage everybody to do is we have conducted in the last 2 weeks, we have conducted extensive information sessions for each school, and those information sessions have been posted on our website. So please go to flemingcollege.ca, and then you would see a banner right on the top part of the web page, and it says information sessions. Please click on that and it will take you to an individual pre-recorded session of your particular school where it was broken down in terms of the programs in your particular school, if they will be online or not. As I said, there are programs, many programs that are going to be strictly online for the fall semester, so there will be no requirement for the student to be on campus whatsoever during the fall semester. But just to confirm, please refer to those individual school information sessions, please. Another question about housing, please, Rob, is on-campus residence available for international students?
Yes, it is. So if they've already applied and received a room offer, then they would follow the same process where they select an option, and then we will be extending room offers based on the criteria that I mentioned earlier.
Thank you. There's a question here about residence assistance. I'm not sure if they're asking, is it this? Could you speak about resident assistants? Are they, I guess, have they been chosen? What is the physical distancing? So it's still 2 people per suite, even though one is an RA in the suite. Could you speak about that, Rob?
Sure. I think I see this question here where it says, with residence opening in October, do you plan on having RLS return at that time, potentially? So yes, we will have student staff. That is our intent. That process will follow our current housing option information gathering process that we're in the middle of. And then from there, we will then take a look at what our staffing model is going to look like. We do anticipate that we will have a reduced capacity of students, which would then be reflected in the number of staff positions that we'll have available. Like all the other staff at the college, there will be a Fleming Safe plan so that we can support their success both as students and as staff members within the college.
Thank you. So I just want to address that there are so many questions in the chat at the moment, which is great. We have almost 120 questions. So I'm doing my best to get through all of them. But there are many that are coming from our international students. So I just wanted to repeat again. I mean, at this point, we don't really know. Our panelists here, we're not specialists when it comes to international students. So there are questions about traveling to Canada, arriving before the fall semester is done, about airport pickup. So if you are an international student, please contact international@flemingcollege.ca. flemingcollege.ca with any questions that you have. International Student Services also held an information session much like this one on Thursday of last week, and that is available for you to view on our website. And hopefully a lot of those questions that you have will be answered. Now, some students are asking about when our schedule is going to be ready for the fall. So my understanding, and if anybody, Donna, feel free to correct me if necessary. So there are two things that need to happen before your timetable is released for you in August. The first thing that you need to have is you need to have made full tuition payment. And the second thing is you need to have any restrictions on your offers of acceptance lifted. So that means, for example, if you're a current high school student, that you have successfully completed your Ontario Secondary School Diploma and that you have successfully completed the courses that are required for admission to your program. Regarding timetables, I also want to explain that if you're a semester 1 student, your timetable is already chosen for you and it will be created for you. So depending on your program, your timetable will be there may be some times where you have to actually log in live, so certain times of the day on certain days of the week to actually physically to see much like this, in a WebEx format to connect with your faculty. But timetables will not be available until generally August, and you need to have made full tuition payment and you need to have completed or met all conditions on your offer here. All right, I'm just searching through these 125 questions now, which is great. Lots of international questions. So again, I really want to draw you to international at Flemingcollege.ca and also to direct you to the information session that International Student Services held last week. While I'm checking through here, does anybody on the panel, did you notice any questions that perhaps I missed that you kind of want to address? No? Okay.
Laura, it's Donna. Could I just add?
Hi, Donna. Yes, please.
Your statement about full tuition payment. How it will work with students who are OSAP recipients. Again, their full payment doesn't have to be made by the date in August, as long as their OSAP application is complete and we see that they have adequate funding to cover tuition. We deduct that when we confirm enrollment to release their OSAP funding. So that payment for them does not have to be made. If they're semester 1 student, just the tuition deposit, and returning students are not paying tuition deposit. So as long as OSAP is there and we see that they have adequate funding to cover their tuition, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Rob, there's a question here about international students. So can they still apply for residence now?
So they can still submit an application. I think it's important to know that right now we are over capacity and we're looking to reduce the number of spaces that we will be able to have available. So, and we also have a wait list already in place for both properties where we have residences. So that all said, we work with international students in housing services all the time and partner with international student services to help international students out of country find housing off campus. So we are able to extend that service to them, and that's probably the best place to start when looking to secure housing.
Thank you. Another question for you, please, Rob. You are the most popular panelist today. If a student is deferring their residence offer until January 2021, is residence still on a first come, first served basis?
Yes, it will be. So for the students that choose and elect that to defer their application to January 2021, assuming that we do have availability of space, it will be based on first come, first serve, acknowledging when you originally applied. So if you were one of the first people to apply, you would then be in that sequence for rooms should they be available in January.
Thank you. Another residence question. If a student gets a room for the last 7 weeks of the fall semester, are they then automatically granted a room for the winter semester as well?
Good question. Yes, they are.
They are. Okay. And the question here, my program is entirely online for the fall semester. So if I defer my residence application to winter of 2021, will I be guaranteed a spot or is it not guaranteed?
I did mention earlier that given we don't understand what the capacity is going to look like in January, knock on wood, it would be great if we were able to open up more spaces. We can't guarantee rooms, and I don't want to promise anything to anyone at this time, given the uncertainty.
Thank you. Another question here. If a student has already planned a roommate for the fall 2020 move-in, would both students still be able to be roommates if they defer to January of 2021?
Again, a lot of it's going to do with what availability we have and in what order we're able to offer space. We will maintain that roommate request, but like we're unable to guarantee the room itself, we then at this time wouldn't be able to guarantee that both students potentially would be offered and that we would have space within a suite together for them.
Thank you. There's a little bit of confusion here in the chat regarding the statement that I made earlier about information sessions from the schools. So every program at Fleming is divided into what we call schools. So for example, personal support worker, paramedic, those programs fall under the School of Health and Wellness. So if you go to our website, flemingcollege.ca, and then you look at the school information sessions, the one that you would like to watch then is the information for the School of Health and Wellness, where they are going to cover exactly what your program is going to look like in terms of delivery for the fall semester. So there isn't an individual information session for each program at the college. They're lumped together into schools. There's another question here for you, Rob, please. Will the fees for on-campus residents be the same for domestic students? Are the fees the same for international students as they are for domestic students?
Yes, they are.
Thank you. There are lots of questions here about deferrals. So I also wanted to address that. So if you are a domestic student, so if you are a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident and you've applied and been accepted to a program at Fleming and you do not want to join us in the fall of 2020, if your program does have a January 2021 or May 2021 start date as well, you can change your program start date by logging into your Ontario College Application Services login. So that's ontariocolleges.ca. And then you add the January 2021 start of your program as a program choice. You don't have to contact admissions. You can do that yourself. If you're an international student and you want to join us for a later intake date, please contact international admissions at flemingcollege.ca and they will help you with that. We do have a question here about tuition. Will it be reduced as the semester is online and not in person? So tuition fees are not going to be reduced because the learning outcomes and program quality remain the same. So even though the program has shifted to an online delivery, the expectation of meeting learning outcomes is the same as though you were on campus. So the cost of the program remains the same. Another question here, what is the final date for Ontario Secondary School diploma confirmation? So if you're currently enrolled in high school, your high school will be feeding that information directly to OCAS, and then that information will come to Fleming College, so you don't have to worry about that. If you're not currently enrolled in high school, then you have to make sure that our admissions department receives your latest and most up-to-date transcript. There's a question here about tuition and tuition assistance. I'm wondering, Donna, if you can help me answer this. If a student is receiving funding through Indian Affairs, is it the same as receiving OSAP?
Hi, thanks, Laura. It's not the same as receiving OSAP. It's two separate programs. It can be treated the same in that they're not paying tuition themselves if the student accounts office has a letter, a contract, a sponsorship letter from the band office would need to be on file stating that they would be paying the student's tuition. So the student can also apply for OSAP and receive band funding if they wish. But if they're looking at deferring their tuition payment and not paying in August, as long as the sponsorship letter is in place, then that would be fine.
Thank you.
Thanks.
There's a question here about off-campus housing, Rob. For a student that has a young family and they need to find housing, will there be any assistance available to help them find housing off campus?
Yeah, absolutely. So in any of our campus communities, we provide off-campus housing support to help students find and secure housing and then maintain it. So whether it's simply just searching and finding, or then ensuring you're working with your landlord during a COVID environment to make sure that you're able to maintain that housing, we have an off-campus housing department and staff that will absolutely provide one-on-one assistance.
Thank you. Another question here, and I just wanted to clarify this. Please confirm that the deferral for residents is not the same as the deferral for a program. If I'm going to be a student in the fall online, so I will have to defer my residence only, correct? And yes, so just to make that clear, residence, your spot in residence doesn't have anything to do with your spot in a program. So if you want to change your housing options, then that is separate from changing your program option, correct, Rob?
Correct.
Okay. A question for you, Greg, please. I already paid my tuition. Will you refund the sport and wellness health fees since my program is going to be delivered online?
So yeah, if there isn't a charge for the fitness facility fees, either at the Peterborough Sport and Wellness Center in Peterborough or the Lindsay Recreation Complex. If you received a fee notice and you've paid that particular fee, I would suggest that you get in contact with the registrar's office and work through that, because again, those fees should not have been charged for the fall.
Thank you. A question for you, please, Carmen. Where can a student access the e-library before fall course, before the beginning of the fall semester?
So our library homepage, our website, it's a vast site, actually. It is just on the open web. So while most people get to it from the portal, you can just get to it online. If you are in the portal, you can go to under the Student Life tab, scroll down, you'll see the book icon, and it says library, and then that will lead you to library services. So you can access all of our in-house material, but for our subscription databases, you won't have a login for those yet. So ebooks and academic journals and our streaming video, you won't have an access to those until fall, unless you're a current student. But you can still come to our workshops and we can give you a day of temporary login if you want to explore the databases.
Thank you. A question here perhaps for you, Rob. When is a good time to start looking for off-site or off-campus housing?
So I think I did.
I think you did answer that.
Yeah,
look at you.
Okay. But it might be good for everyone to hear. The sooner the better. So we have an extensive listing of all properties available for students in our campus communities. So in Peterborough and in Lindsay. So the earlier you choose to start your search, the higher the likelihood of choice that you'll have.
Thank you. And I know I just want to address. I know some of our audience here is getting a little frustrated that we're not answering every single question. So I'm just asking you to bear with me. There are 157 of you asking questions. I'm scrolling through them as best as I can. But I also wanted to explain that this information session was in particular for student services, so that we had so many questions about residents, and so we wanted to get the information out in a concise manner, and as well everything else that comes from student services. But if you have a very program specific question, so I know some of you are wondering, what do you do about co-op for your program, and how are you going to handle the field placement component of your program? The best person to contact is your program coordinator, because they're the ones that have had to modify the curriculum of the program to allow it had to be changed. So the sequence of things had to be changed to allow everybody to be able to get through the semester. So if you have very specific program questions, the best person to contact is your program coordinator. If you cannot get a hold of your program coordinator or somebody in your school, you can please send us an email at us, ASKUS at Flemingcollege.ca. And I can honestly tell you, I get all those questions and I try to put them, to funnel them to the appropriate person. So if there is a question today that you feel we didn't answer, please send an email to askus at Flemingcollege.ca and we will definitely get you the answer that you need. And thank you everyone for your patience because there's so many questions. But again, I just wanted to explain that today's information session is very much around housing and student services. And the other questions that so many international students have here, I would strongly encourage you to go back to our website and look at the information session for international students that we had last week that I was also moderating. So yes. Does anybody on the panel here, is there any other information that you would like to cover or that you would like to mention while I continue to scroll through our questions? There's a question here for you, Rob. Please explain how to pursue application for housing.
So for students who would like to submit a new application for housing, if you follow the Student Life tab on our website, you'll be able to go to Housing and then Residence. And from there, you'll see a button that says Apply Now. That will take you to our residence portal where you will be able to complete an application.
Thank you. There are questions here about books and textbooks. So my understanding from the information sessions, for school-specific information sessions that we held in the last 2 weeks, a lot of programs are actually working with publishers to have course packs available, so digital course packs, so that you don't necessarily have to purchase books, because we do understand that a lot of our students may not even be in Canada, so shipping books is not a viable option. So all this information in terms of your books and all this, this will be communicated to you later in as we get closer to the fall semester. And there's a question here, if your program is delivered online, final exam will be online too? Yes, that is correct. If your program is strictly online, there will be information in terms of how you are going to be evaluated for your learning in the program. There's a question here about parking passes. If you are interested in parking when on-campus activities resume, you can purchase that through the information booth at whichever campus your program is housed at. Greg, anything else here or any other panelists? Are there any questions that are specific to your area of expertise that perhaps I missed? Please feel free to answer those questions. Just going through here. I mean, there are many that we're not answering because they're very specific to international. So as I said, international at Flemingcollege.ca for any questions. Question for you here is a good question for you here, Julie. Could we talk a little bit about note taking for virtual lectures?
Sorry, I had to press to unmute myself. Yeah, there's several different options that are available to students in regards to note taking. We have a service that we use called Note Taking Express. But again, I would really say to students, it would depend on what your needs are for note taking, because different students have different accommodation needs in regards to note taking. So when you meet with your counselor, a part of what they'll look out for you, and this is for all accommodations in the online environment, is about how your learning needs translate into the online environment, and we'll make sure that there's accommodations that are set in a way that will work for you in that environment. So for note taking, we do have a few different options, but again, it would depend on what the students' learning needs were.
Thank you. So there are some students here who are wondering when the semester will begin. The winter semester will start. So on our website, if you go to on Flemingcollege.ca and then you click on, if you want to search for academic schedule. So this is a schedule that is released by the registrar's office at the beginning of each academic calendar year. And so all the dates there for the beginning of the upcoming fall semester and the end of that semester, as well as the beginning and end of the winter and spring semesters, are posted on there as well. A question here, perhaps for you, Greg, is the integrated transportation fee waived if the students are not on campus or in the city? So I guess the bus pass for the Sutherland students.
Sure, yeah. Actually, both our student associations have worked really hard in negotiating reduced fees while still ensuring services where possible can still be provided. And so I referenced the athletic facility fee before that our student associations worked with us on, and our city partners, the transportation fee being another one. So where the service is not provided, the fee is not being charged. We also, I will speak as well, the question came up earlier about the athletic fitness facility fee that we're not charging, and the students have an opportunity to pay a temporary month-to-month fee. The student associations also negotiated a heavily reduced athletics and recreation fee that students will see on their fee notice. So I just want to provide that point of clarification, the difference between athletic fitness fee and athletics and recreation fee. But in terms of the transportation fee, that has been waived where the service is not being provided. And they're continuing to work with the city to provide up-to-date information. And then I expect later on in the summer, the student associations will communicate that to all students.
Thank you. There's a question here for housing, Rob. An international student has submitted their application for on-campus housing and they have been put first on the wait list. Since their program is in health sciences, will they be guaranteed a room then because they are considered to be an essential program?
So no, as they don't have a current room offer, the first group we're going to look at is those students who were told that they had room offers before COVID occurred. So no, that student would not be guaranteed a room.
Thank you. And there's a question here about a student that just accepted their offer to Fleming. So that's great, wonderful, and congratulations. We're excited to have you join us in the fall. And they're just wondering about not hearing any information yet. So if you just recently accepted your offer, it usually takes about 48 hours, so sometimes 2 to 3 days for all that information to be fed into our system and updated through Ontario colleges. So if you do not hear by the end of this week, please contact us at askus@flemingcollege.ca and we will put you in touch with admissions. Thank you. One last time, I just wanted to sort of recap some information. So there are information sessions, previous information sessions that you may find very helpful that are posted on our website. This information session will be posted as well as an FAQ fact sheet. And if anybody wants to ask questions or you feel that we didn't address your question, please direct any outstanding questions to askus@flemingcollege.ca. And now I will pass it over to Greg for some closing remarks.
Great. Thanks, Laura. Thanks again to our panelists who have joined us. And most importantly, thanks to all of you, our students who have joined us today. Great to see so many of you online today, both our domestic students and so many of our international students and so many thoughtful questions. So thank you for that. In addition to the services that we have represented here today, we have a wide range of services and staff and student leaders, including our Student Administrative Council in Peterborough and our Frost Student Association in Lindsay that are also here to help you succeed. For more information on all of our services, feel free to visit the college website, flemingcollege.ca, and click on the Student Life tab at the top panel. We look forward to supporting you and continuing to build on this session today with additional opportunities to continue our communication with you. A couple that I would like to highlight. Welcome Days will be held virtually Monday, July 13th for Sutherland students and Friday, July 17th for Frost students. Welcome Days, just to give you a bit of information, is a transitional support program for new students and will include as well an invite to your parents or caregivers and includes a mix of service sessions and information to further help support your transition and prepare for September. Look for an email from us on June 29th, so next week, for more information on Welcome Days. We also look forward to welcoming you for orientation in September that will include academic program orientation, meeting your faculty, and student engagement opportunities for you to be able to connect virtually with your peers and have some fun outside the classroom. And of course, we cannot wait to meet you back in person on campus when it's safe to do so for our returning students, and of course to welcome all of our new students. Thanks again for joining us today. Laura, back to you to wrap up our session.
Thank you. So again, I do, as Greg said, we do very much thank you for your time today. And I know that the upcoming semester that you have to make lots of decisions, and especially big decisions when you're looking at your education and with the current public health situation. But please know that we're here to answer your questions. And again, if you feel that there are questions that we didn't get to today, or that somehow you didn't get the enough answers, we are here. This is just the beginning of the dialogue. So we are here to answer questions that you have beyond this information session. So one last time, ask us at flemingcollege.ca. Those emails come to me directly, and I guarantee you that I will get to your questions and I will answer them and put you in contact with the right people. So thank you. And as Greg said, we very much look forward to welcome you guys to Fleming College in the fall. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.